My name is Maral. Mamagan Izakde is a long name. I'm from Iran, from a city called Tehran. I grew up in a family who could all hear. I was the only deaf person in my family. Iran is a strict Muslim country. In Islam, the Quran says that disability is a shameful thing, a bad thing. Which means that people's views towards disabled people is not good. This is why they wanted me to change. I needed to change to fit in with the community. As a deaf person, this meant learning language. Not a signed language, but speech. I had to practice how to talk properly. This was seen as very important because God didn't want to hear me make utterances, but to speak properly in order to be able to pray to Him and talk to God. So I was born into a Muslim faith and I accepted that. I learned how to pray and I learned Arabic. Although I prayed on a regular basis, I never felt that connection or relationship with God. I would always ask questions like, why am I deaf? Why can't I have my own language? But also, if God created me to be deaf, why must I then change to become hearing and have to speak? I didn't want to speak. So I grew up and lived my life in Iran. But 3 years ago, I moved here to the UK to go to university, to study an MA in jewellery in Birmingham. I've finished my university studies now, but whilst I was still studying my MA, one day I asked a friend where she was going on holiday. Sorry, I mean what she was doing at the weekend. And she said, well, I'm a Christian, so I always go to church. And me being nosy, I had to ask her, well, is it okay if I come along with you to see for myself? Would this be allowed? And she said, yes, of course, no problem, come along. This was a hearing church, but what struck me was it was full of sound and music. And everyone was so happy and full of joy in their worship of God. The atmosphere was buzzing. That church was really good. And I left thinking about how different their relationship with God was compared to what I was used to in Islam, the formal reciting of prayers and bowing rituals. Christians seemed so different. It didn't seem to matter who you were, what language you used. Everyone was just so happy. I was blown away. Whilst at university, I had a note taker. And I'd started looking into learning British Sign Language, so I asked her whether she knew anyone who could teach me BSL. And she said she had a friend who teaches at Longwell School for Deaf Children. So my friend, who's called Lucy, arranged for us to meet up with her friend, called Hannah. The three of us met up and went through some really basic BSL, the alphabet and so on. And after that, I was determined. I wanted more. I had to know and learn more. So I asked them, whereabouts could I get involved with the deaf community? And where could I go and learn more sign language? It was then that Hannah said about Word of Hands. So the three of us went along to church. And wow, yeah, I can't describe or put into words. It was really emotional. To see everyone signing, and everyone was proud to be deaf. And it didn't matter who you were or what your background was, none of that mattered. I really liked church, and that moment has stuck with me. But I still had that fear inside me, that fear that was telling me I wasn't allowed to change anything. So I started going to the Word of Hand service regularly, which I really liked. And I was learning more and more BSL. But at the same time, I was listening into the sermons and teachings about God. And the more I heard, the more I realised how different Jesus was compared to what I thought I'd known about him. I'd been told about him before, but then I started to learn more in depth the reason behind his death, and the fact that he died and rose, and all that that meant. But I was still struggling with this fear though. I didn't want God to be upset with me or sad. I really thought that if I changed, then he would desert me, which was the last thing I wanted because I like him. Then at 4 o'clock in the morning, I made my decision. I prayed. Then I texted my friend Lucy to tell her that I'd decided to follow Jesus, and she was so pleased. She's a Christian. She said, "Wow, congratulations." Then I told Hannah that I believe, and she thought it was amazing. And then everyone else just kept saying, "Welcome, welcome." So on the 3rd of September, I was baptised. But something changed. Before this, I hadn't confided in my family about my beliefs. But I had a realisation. And I made a decision to stay and live here. I know that feeling of fear, what it feels like. But it's not a real fear. There is no real fear in love. If you have fear, you don't have love. So you have to let go of the fear. So if you're feeling scared or you're really not sure which is the right path to take, trust in him. That's all I can say. Trust in him. He's got it all under control. Look at me, for example. He managed everything for me.